The Law of One, Session 53, May 25, 1981.
53.0 I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. We communicate now.
53.1 Questioner. I would first like to know the instrument's condition and ask 2 questions for her. She would like to know if she can do one exercise of 1 hour a day, and is the pain she feels prior to a session due to an Orion attack.
I am Ra. The instrument's condition is as previously stated. In answer to the question of exercise, now that the intensive period is over, this instrument may, if it chooses, exercise 1 period rather than 2. In scanning this instrument's physical complex distortions, we find the current period of exercise at the limit of this instrument's strength. This is well in the long run due to a cumulative building up of the vital energies. In the short run, it is wearying to this entity. Thus we suggest the entity be aware of our previous admonitions regarding other aids to appropriate bodily distortions. In answer to the second query, we may say that the physical complex difficulties prior to contact with our social memory complex are due to the action of the subconscious will of the instrument. This will is extremely strong and requires the mind-body-spirit complex to reserve all available physical and vital energies for the contact. Thus the discomforts are experienced due to the dramatic distortion towards physical weakness while this energy is diverted. The entity is, it may be noted, also under psychic attack, and this intensifies pre-existing conditions and is responsible for the cramping and the dizziness as well as mind complex distortions.
53.2 Questioner. Thank you. I would like to know if Name may attend one of these sessions in the very near future.
I am Ra. The mind-body-spirit complex, Name, belongs with this group in the spirit and is welcome. You may request that special meditative periods be set aside until the entity sits with this working. We might suggest that a photograph of the one known as James Allen be sent to this entity with his writing upon it indicating love and light. This held while meditating will bring the entity into peaceful harmony with each of you so that there be no extraneous waste of energy while greetings are exchanged between 2 entities, both of whom have a distortion towards solitude and shyness, as you would call it. The same might be done with a photograph of the entity, Name, for the one known as James Allen.
53.3 Questioner. Thank you. During my trip to Laramie, certain things became apparent to me with respect to disseminating the first book of the Law of One to those who have had experiences with UFOs and other wanderers. And I will have to ask some questions now that I may have to include in Book 1 to eliminate a misunderstanding that I am perceiving as a possibility in Book 1. Therefore, these questions, although for the most part trenchant, are aimed at eliminating certain distortions of understanding with respect to the material in Book 1. I hope that I am making a correct approach here. You may not be able to answer some, but that's all right. We'll just go on to some others then if you can't answer the ones I ask. First, I will ask if you could tell me the affiliation of the entities that contacted Betty and Dressen.
I am Ra. This query is marginal. We will make the concession towards information with some loss of polarity due to free will being abridged. We request that questions of this nature be kept to a minimum. The entities in this and some other vividly remembered cases are those who, feeling the need to plant Confederation imagery in such a way as not to abrogate free will, use the symbols of death, resurrection, love, and peace as a means of creating, upon the thought level, the time-space illusion of a systematic train of events which give the message of love and hope. This type of contact is chosen by careful consideration of Confederation members which are contacting an entity of like home vibration, if you will. This project then goes before the Council of Saturn and, if approved, is completed. The characteristics of this type of contact include the non-painful nature of thoughts experienced and the message content which speaks not of doom but of the new dawning age.
53.4 Questioner. It is not necessary that I include the information that you just gave in the book to accomplish my purpose. In order to save your polarity, shall I say, I can keep that as private material if you wish. Do you wish for me to keep it unpublished?
I am Ra. That which we offer you is freely given and subject only to your discretion.
53.5 Questioner. I thought you would say that. In that case, can you tell me anything of the blue book mentioned by Betty Andressen in that case?
I am raw. No.
53.6 Questioner. Thank you. Can you tell me of various techniques used by the service-to-others or positively oriented Confederation contacts with the people of this planet? The various forms of and techniques of them making contact.
I am raw. We could.
53.7 Questioner. Would you do this, please?
I am raw. The most efficient mode of contact is that which you experience at this space-time. The infringement upon free will is greatly undesired. Therefore, those entities which are wanderers upon your plane of illusion will be the only subjects for the thought projections which make up the so-called close encounters and meetings between positively oriented social memory complexes and wanderers.
53.8 Questioner. Could you give me an example of one of these meetings between a wanderer and a social memory complex as to what the wanderer would experience?
I am raw. One such example of which you are familiar is that of the one known as Morris. In this case, the previous contact which other entities in this entity's circle of friends experienced was negatively oriented. However, you will recall that the entity, Morris, was impervious to this contact and could not see, with the physical optical apparatus, this contact. However, the inner voice alerted the one known as Morris to go by itself to another place, and there an entity with the thought form, shape and appearance of the other contact appeared and gazed at this entity, thus awakening in it the desire to seek the truth of this occurrence and of the experiences of its incarnation in general. The feeling of being awakened or activated is the goal of this type of contact. The duration and imagery used varies depending upon the subconscious expectations of the wanderer which is experiencing this opportunity for activation.
53.9 Questioner. In a close encounter by a Confederation type of craft, I assume that this close encounter is with a thought form type of craft. Do wanderers within the past few years have close encounters with landed thought form type of craft?
I am raw. This has occurred, although it is much less common than the Orion type of so-called close encounter. We may note that in a universe of unending unity the concept of a close encounter is humorous, for are not all encounters of a nature of self with self? Therefore, how can any encounter be less than very, very close?
53.10 Questioner. Well, talking about this type of encounter of self to self, do any wonders of a positive polarization ever encounter a so-called close encounter with the Orion or negatively oriented polarization?
I am raw. This is correct. The
53.11 Questioner. Interrupting, why does this occur?
I am raw. When it occurs, it is quite rare and occurs either due to the Orion entity's lack of perception of the depth of positivity to be encountered or due to the Orion entity's desire to, shall we say, attempt to remove this positivity from this plane of existence. Orion tactics normally are those which choose the simple distortions of mind which indicate less mental and spiritual complex activity.
53.12 Questioner. I have become aware of a very large variation in contact with individuals. The Confederation, I am assuming, uses a form of contact to awaken, as you say, wanderers. And could you give me general examples of the methods used by the Confederation to awaken or partially awaken the wanderers they are contacting?
I am raw. The methods used to awaken wanderers are varied. The center of each approach is the entrance into the conscious and subconscious in such a way as to avoid causing fear and to maximize the potential for an understandable subjective experience which has meaning for the entity. Many such occur in sleep, others in the midst of many activities during the waking hours. The approach is flexible and does not necessarily include the close encounter syndrome, as you are aware.
53.13 Questioner. What about the physical examination syndrome? How does that relate to wanderers and to Confederation and Orion contacts?
I am raw. The subconscious expectations of entities cause the nature and detail of thought form experience offered by Confederation thought form entities. Thus, if a wanderer expects a physical examination, it will perforce be experienced with as little distortion towards alarm or discomfort as is allowable by the nature of the expectations of the subconscious distortions of the wanderer.
53.14 Questioner. Well, are both those who are taken on Confederation and Orion craft then experiencing a seeming physical examination?
I am Ra. Your query indicates incorrect thinking. The Orion group uses the physical examination as a means of terrifying the individual and causing it to feel the feelings of an advanced second density being such as a laboratory animal. The sexual experiences of some are a subtype of this experience. The intent is to demonstrate the control of the Orion entities over the Terran inhabitant. The thought form experiences are subjective and, for the most part, do not occur in this density.
53.15 Questioner. Then both Confederation and Orion contacts are being made, and close encounters are of a dual nature as I understand it. They can either be of the Confederation or Orion type of contact. Is this correct?
I am Ra. This is correct, although the preponderance of contacts is Orion-oriented.
53.16 Questioner. Well, we have a large spectrum of entities on Earth with respect to harvestability, both positively oriented and negatively oriented. Would the Orion targeting on the ends of this spectrum, both positive and negatively oriented, for contact for Earth entities, I mean?
I am Ra. This query is somewhat difficult to accurately answer. However, we shall attempt to do so. The most typical approach of Orion entities is to choose what you might call the weaker-minded entity that it might suggest a greater amount of Orion philosophy to be disseminated. Some few Orion entities are called by more highly polarized negative entities of your space-time nexus. In this case, they share information just as we are now doing. However, this is a risk for the Orion entities due to the frequency with which the harvestable negative planetary entities then attempt to bid and order the Orion contact just as these entities bid planetary negative contacts. The resulting struggle for mastery, if lost, is damaging to the polarity of the Orion group. Similarly, a mistaken Orion contact with highly polarized positive entities can wreak havoc with Orion troops unless these crusaders are able to depolarize the entity mistakenly contacted. This occurrence is almost unheard of. Therefore, the Orion group prefers to make physical contact only with the weaker-minded entity.
53.17 Questioner. Then in general I could say that if an individual has a close encounter with a UFO or any other type of experience that seems to be UFO-related, he must look to the heart of the encounter and the effect upon him to determine whether it was Orion or Confederation contact. Is this correct?
I am Ra. This is correct. If there is fear and doom, the contact was quite likely of a negative nature. If the result is hope, friendly feelings, and the awakening of a positive feeling of purposeful service to others, the marks of Confederation contact are evident.
53.18 Questioner. Thank you. I did not wish to create the wrong impression with the material that we were including in Book 1, and find it necessary to add some of this material. I know that it's transient, but it I believe is necessary for a full understanding, or, shall I say, a correct approach to the material. I'll ask a few questions here. If you do not care to ask them, we'll skip them. I would like to ask, however, if you could tell me what, for the most part, or the major portion of Confederation entities, what they look like.
I am Ra. The fourth density Confederation entity looks variously depending upon the, shall we say, derivation of its physical vehicle.
53.19 Questioner. Do some of them look just like us? Could they pass for Earth people?
I am Ra. Those of this nature are most often fifth density.
53.20 Questioner. I assume that the same answer would apply to the Orion group. Is this correct? As far as fourth and fifth density goes?
I am raw. This is correct.
53.21 Questioner. Can you tell me why Name had so many silver flecks on her?
I am raw. This is infringement. No.
53.22 Questioner. Thank you. Could you tell me why I got sick during Carl Raschke's talk?
I am raw. We scan your thoughts. They are correct and therefore we do not infringe by confirming them. The space-time of your allotted speaking was drawing near and you came under Orion attack due to the great desire of some positively oriented entities to become aware of the law of one. This may be expected especially when you are not in a group lending strength to each other.
53.23 Questioner. Thank you. Can you comment on my and the instrument, if she approves, so-called ball of lightning experience as a child?
I am raw. This will be the last query of this working. You are being visited by your people to be wished well. Is there any other query of a brief nature we may answer?
53.24 Questioner. No. I apologize for asking many transient questions during this session. I hope that we did not cause any problem for you, especially with respect to loss of polarity and that one question. But I felt it necessary to include some of this material so that those wanderers and others reading the first book of the Law of One would not get the wrong impression with respect to their experiences and contacts. I am sorry for any problems that I might have caused. I will just ask if there is anything that we can do to improve the contact or aid the instrument.
I am raw. The instrument is well. Please guard your alignments carefully. We leave you now, my friends, in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the infinite Creator. Adonai.